So Avinash, 7 years ago when you were in Lima in 2015, content was, as I was telling you, the next big thing. Everyone wants to do content, and you had a phrase that I can recall. I still recall. You said build a content strategy before a marketing strategy. 7 years ago, that was valid. It's still valid now. Probably sometimes it sounds like we said content is the next big thing, and probably get a little disappointed about it because it's hard, because it's tough to do, because it takes a lot of time. What are your thoughts about it?
I continue to think that it's important to maybe spend a second on figuring out what do we mean by content, right? Because content can be so many different things for companies. For me, the reason that I emphasized content so much in our discussion, in our session, is that for me, content is all about being able to figure out how do you give your audience something of value. Now, content can be a video, content can be text, content can be email, content can be letters that you send to people's houses. Content can be about your customer service options. Content can be about reaching out to new people on TikTok and getting them to understand your company and products better. Content can be pure marketing in the sense that, here's something that we're going to wrap around our new product and we're going to put it out in the world so we get a higher conversion rate. So it's really important that when we say content, what we're trying to say is all of these things in all of these shapes. The reason I say content is even sort of a first step before you think about content marketing before marketing is because if you don't have good content, then you default marketing to badgering people to buy from you. And yes, you should do that. Look, there's a certain percent of people who are in market for a bank loan or a car or a book or a toy. And they need to know that you sell one of those things and they should buy it from you. But the challenge is that's like 2% of the people that you need to engage with. That's it. So if you want to engage with 100% of the possibility of the audience that's out there, and only 2% of them are right now ready to buy, then the question you have to ask yourself is, do we want to do something for the other 98%? And if the answer is yes, then the first thing you have to think about is, do we have something to say to those people? In video, in text, in letters, in billboards, in a banner pulled behind an airplane, doesn't really matter. Do we have something to say? And that's why I sort of emphasize building out a content strategy, because if you have content, you do great marketing. If you don't have content, you default to shouting at people to buy from you. And that's very few people want to hear that. So 98% of the people who get that message will be super annoyed with you that you are interrupting them, you idiot. A few of them will say, yes, this is great. I wanted this thing. I'm going to buy the toy, right? And so that's perfect. 2% though, only 2%. What about the 98? You're going to annoy 98. So do you want to annoy 98% of the people and make 2% happy? At that time, it's very expensive and inefficient. So that's the reason that I say. And for most companies, we are geared to thinking about profit, and that's okay. We are geared towards thinking about revenue, and that's okay. We're thinking about higher conversion rates. That's okay. All those things are okay. But what you have to say is that's solving a this size problem for the company. And what you have to know is, do you want to solve this size problem for the company? Or maybe my hands go away off the screen. That's the reason I emphasize content.
Mostly that it's like you said once. I also can recall that, and I was reviewing the interview that we held in 2015. You said content is gonna make people know if you suck. Content is gonna make people know that you actually suck.
I had this framework I call See, Think, Do, Care. And the do audience is that 2%, people with commercial intent ready to buy right now. And so for them, most companies are okay at creating content. Although they have to they have to think a little more cleverly about how to put do content on TikTok versus YouTube versus Google search versus a television ad. So there's some creativity you have to bring to it, and that's actually not that easy. You can't put the TikTok on TV, you can't put the TV on YouTube, you can't put the YouTube on Facebook. So there's a little nuance there, but that's the do content. It's considering think, see, and care. It's those clusters and ability to create content, because in the C cluster are your largest addressable qualified audience. So I think one of the examples I might give is it's Sony figuring out how to build content for people who want to be better photographers. Because in the long run, that's good for Sony. If you're a good photographer, you will buy more cameras.
You're going to buy more cameras, of course.
And it's good for Sony to teach you that, because then you will think about Sony as your primary source for buying the camera. That's C. But what interesting is to reflect, if we are Sony, you and I are Sony, we have to think about, do we have the ability to create that content? Sony actually sucks at creating that content today, right? Other people are better at it. And so what it's a missed opportunity for Sony. So that's the reason it's important to think about content. But the reason I like sort of putting into these clusters of intent, see, think, do, care, is it forces you and I, let's say we work for Bank of Peru, right? And we're like, okay, we have to have a marketing strategy for see, think, do, and care. Then it's like, okay, who's the audience in the C cluster of intent? Then you and I, Miguel, can sit down and say, oh, it's this audience. So we can't just shout at them, buy now. We have to build something that is right for their stage of intent. Then you build the content and say, now we have this content. What is the best place to reach that audience? And then you might end up on Google or Facebook or billboards or in-person meetings or sessions or meetups, Zoom, virtuals, whatever. Then the marketing can take over. But the marketing possibilities can't take over unless you have content, because otherwise you'll simply irritate people.
You're answering a question that I was going to make you about the framework, the see, think, do, care framework. Of course, we have to talk about it. Most of marketers go straight to the do stage, because they're pressed by the number. But to get to it, their numbers are by the end of the month. So when you approach them with this the same pitch that you're doing here, it's like, okay, that's nice, it sounds good, but how are you going to make me reach that number by the end of the month? Like, okay, right. This content marketing, it's like a marathon. It's not like a short run and whatever. How do you convince these people? Because they actually do have a point. They need to get to by the end of the month to the number. How do you face that?
Yeah. So there's two ways to think about it, right? One is you have to figure out how do I simply grow at my current rate and whatever 2%, 3%, whatever percent you're growing at, and say, how do I make sure that continues and is stable? So I would say, email marketing is a key part of your content strategy. If you do it really, really well, the audience is closer to you, and you can get a lower cost per sale doing content marketing with email that will get you your quarterly revenue numbers, totally tied to it, right? So you shouldn't think of content marketing only as driving long or medium-term outcomes. You can use content marketing to drive short-term outcomes. But the thing is, sending an email to a lot of people with buy now buttons is a stupid way to hit your quarterly numbers. You have to still think about, what content do I send? How do I phrase it? What value am I giving? It will be purely the horizon to measure success will be the quarter. Do we hit our quarterly numbers? So it's a content marketing strategy aligned with do that helps you hit your quarterly numbers. So that's one way to think about it. The second one is you have to say, I don't just want to grow at 2, 3, 4, 5% that I'm growing at. I want to increase my competitive share in the market. I want to grow my size in the pie of the market, right? I don't want a 12-inch pizza. How do I make the pizza 18 inches? right? Not just think about how to take your 12-inch pizza and make your slice bigger. Just grow the freaking pie. Everybody wins. You, of course, win huge, right? The volume between a 12-inch and a 18-inch pizza is massively different, right? Now, when you think about strategies to grow, to outcompete, to steal market share, your do strategy is not going to work. Then you have to think about how do we invest in medium to long-term goals, medium to long-term outcomes, and measure them over the time that they are effective. So think of the purpose, two different purposes. If you only want to do the first one, you're happy plodding along, keeping your market share currently, just making the same money you do. Happy birthday. Use content marketing, because using content marketing for that will be cheaper, actually cheaper than just buying ads and giving money to Google, Facebook, TV, billboards, right? So definitely do it. But if you want to grow market share, you want to change the revenue of your company by 30%, not 3%, then you have to invest in the strategy B, right? Grow the size of the pie. And that's why I think content marketing can be really great. It also has these other benefits, right? You get to establish a direct relationship with the customer rather than going through different people. So there's a case to be made that Pantene or Johnny Walker Whiskey or a bank or a bus company or whatever, they can have a direct relationship with the customer rather than going through intermediaries, rather than going through Walmart, right? You can have a direct, so that's what something. So there's strategic outcomes that will benefit you if you think about it as the grow the size of the pie strategy, and it will drive medium and long-term outcomes that can be measured. The thing I don't want people to think about is content marketing has to be done on faith. You don't have to do it on faith. Screw faith. Do it based on clear measurement. But remember, you have to make sure that you're measuring the right thing. You have to make sure you're sending the right content. Sending buy now content and expecting it to expand the size of your pie is foolish.
Actually, audiences tend to recognize and to prefer the guy who made the pie bigger.
Yes.
Right? You get more benefit from being the guy who baked a bigger pizza.
That is not exactly right. No, I think that if you do it well, you form direct relationship with customers. They are more resilient relationships. They are more profitable relationships. Because if you are actually along every stage of the journey with the customer, from see to think to do to care, remember, care is already your current customers. I think it's so silly that very few marketing teams actually think about what marketing we're doing to our current customers, not just to get them to buy more from us, but to get them to use our products in better ways, to be happier, have more engaged relationships with us, and try different life experience. So when you go with the customer along that entire journey, they are a more profitable customer. You get higher lifetime value that can be measured. I want to emphasize that you can actually measure those outcomes. And that's why I think content marketing is so great. The other thing that's underappreciated, Miguel, is for me, content marketing is a way to drive short and long-term profits. But it's also, when I'm sitting with CMOs, a way to understand how sophisticated the organization is. I don't care actually if you're posting videos on TikTok or not. I mean, that's not what I'm trying to test. I'm trying to test and understand, do you have the capacity to come up with content that could go on TikTok? Because most companies look like idiots and go on TikToks. But if your company had figured out how to be on TikTok in that unique platform in a relevant way, or be on YouTube or Facebook or anything else in the world, it tells me you have smart people, you have sophisticated people. So it's about what kind of organization that you have built. And I really see that as one of the benefits of content marketing is a way to future-proof what we are doing for our company and our people in our company.
It's actually a more profound approach, because it makes you question about what you're saying, how ready I am to create content. It's
That's
like
right.
everybody can make a slogan and probably run a campaign on,
Oh, yeah.
buy ads on Google. It's really easy, or use the Facebook or LinkedIn tools, to set up a piece of announcement. But content marketing really makes you look inside the organization and create valuable approaches to your audiences, right?
Exactly. That's exactly correct. In fact, it is not that hard to give everybody a 30% discount on the price and get them to convert higher, buy now, and meet your monthly numbers. The thing is, you hit the revenue goal, but you screw the profit. Your target should not be to figure out how every month to meet your quota by giving a $100 product for, $80. Any idiot can do that. It doesn't take that much of a genius to do that. But what's actually harder is to say, we're gonna, rather than think of that short term, we're gonna think long term. I'm going to try and sell a $100 product for 102 or 98, not 80. Think of that profitability goes directly to the bottom line. So sometimes what I do is help CMOs and companies position content marketing not so much as saying, do we drive short-term revenue, which we can. I gave you an example of how I would do that, right? But to say content marketing is key part for marketing to be more profitable, because it can both do things at a lower cost and a higher net profit. So not look at gross revenue, but net revenue. And think about profit, think about lifetime value. If I actually have see, think, do, care content, I can have 30, 40% higher lifetime value from those customers than customers I just acquired with pure do strategies. I think if you get them to think about it in that dimension, then they begin to pause and realize, this capacity is worth building. This work is worth doing. I just working with a company in Brazil very closely and thinking about content marketing and things like that across see, think, do, and care. And one of the things that they did is they ended up hiring actually 3 journalists. Journalists are looking for jobs right now. And then these companies actually hired 3 journalists, a very large company. I'm afraid I can't name them, but you can guess. Brazil. And actually their role is to figure out see and care content strategies. 3 people, just 3 people, okay? See and care strategies. And what has happened, I've seen over the last year that they have had these people in place, is that their overall profitability is actually nudging higher. The people we can track back to these initiatives is higher. The companies also acquired a brand attribute where people, is by the very old school company and not cool at all. But people are starting to, we measure the brand attributes, and people are starting to see the company as more forward thinking, like a little cooler company, that they are able to be in these different platforms and actually do things that work in that platform. And that's a very hard thing to do. And look, how many companies in Peru don't, the size you're working with, they don't have 3 people to hire. Like, we're not asking for you to go out 100 people. No, we're saying, let's start small. Let's find the right people.
That's important, the right people.
In that instance, it turned out to be those 3 journalists. For a different company, it might be somebody different, right? Maybe it's a history professor. I don't know, right? You think that through, but I wanted to give this example from Brazil as something that has worked very well over the last year for this company.
But it's pretty interesting because you are not talking about profit or revenue. You are talking about people who start seeing this company as cooler.
That's right. You measure the brand.
You're talking about other attributes that sometimes marketers don't have in their radars. Who is the buyer of content marketing in an organization? Who should buy these content marketing ideas? It's the CMO, because I've run into a CMOs and sometimes it's like talking to a wall.
No, for me, the person that has to kind of get the message is definitely the CMO, because if you don't have the CMO, it's a really hard thing to get the kind of support, because CMOs are normally incentivized to think medium and long term. They don't have to be like chief sales officers whose job it is to drive sales right now, and they are very good at their jobs and wonderful. So the trick, I think, is to get the CMO to understand it, but to frame content marketing's value in a way that a CFO will understand. I think if you can pull that off, then you're on to something truly magical, because you want to say that we're solving for the long term, we're working with the CMO, and so on and so forth. But the core important thing to emphasize is that we're doing this with an eye to clear measurement and profitability. Then you're speaking a CFO's language, and they will begin to see that, wow, we're actually handing out $6 million worth of discounts right now, and over a long period of time, I can get that down to $300,000 or $500,000 by having, and by the way, increase relationships directly with the customer, improve brand attributes, like all these other benefits you can lay out. Then I think these two people become a core sponsor and believer in the value that you and I are trying to drive through content marketing. And you and I have to do, look, it is your job and it's my job to make sure that we are able to emphasize that content marketing is not just to do content because it is kind of cool or things like that. Is that we want to do content because we want to make sure our company has the ability to speak with people across all clusters of intent.
Actually, that's I'm going to go to measurement in just a minute. But it's really interesting what you say about if a CFO can understand this, then you did your job. And there's another idea that I would like to pick your brain with. Let's do this because it's cool. You know, it's cool to say we do content marketing. A couple of polls in the past 4 or 5 years here in Peru, they ask CMOs, do you do content marketing? Yeah, sure, 85, 86%. Now you see a market, and it has evolved a little bit since 2015 when you showed this brand in your keynote at the time, but it hasn't exploded the way it was supposed to be. So actually, it's as you said, it's our job to show that this is profitable, that it's relevant, more than cool, right? And I want to focus on the care stage, because no one, as you said, focus on that. Once I had a CMO telling me, my job is to bring people to the door of the store.
That's right.
And that's it. Then it's sales problem. It's a sales problem. It's not mine. How do you approach your care cluster?
Yeah, no, it's very, very important. And I think I do not hold anything against the CMO you were speaking with, because in most companies, anything to do with customers isn't a responsibility that a CMO will own. I encourage CMOs to think about building marketing strategies for the current customers, because it is a great way to expand their role and influence in a company. So the CMO who you spoke with is not able to imagine is, today they have this much responsibility in a company, it could be this much. You think about having relationships with current customers, marketing to them. You can use it to build new products. You can help them to fix customer service problems. You can help, like, your influence explodes in a company. And so it's up to a CMO to say, hey, do I want to stay a CMO the rest of my life, or do I want to head towards being a CEO? If you want to be a CEO, hey, having care strategy is a really good way to grow to become a CEO, right? So again, ambition, responsibility, influence, those questions come into play. So I'll have that kind of a discussion with that particular CMO. But I want to emphasize what he said to you, what she said to you is very normal. It's very normal. So I want to make sure I emphasize that. For me, care strategies are sort of, there are two dimensions of it. One is helping people figure out how to use our products and services to live their life better. So let's say I work at Fitbit and I have this watch, my Fitbit watch, and my care strategies Fitbit would be to figure out, how does Fitbit have a relationship with me where it helps me figure out how to use this product to live a better life, right? And again, not don't step outside your responsibility set. But this watch is supposed to do a bunch of things. Or if I'm a bank, my bank is JP Morgan Chase here in America, and it's JP Morgan Chase's job, care strategies, to figure out how I can have good financial well-being. Am I doing all the right things? They have a lot of data. They can use that to figure out how to make that financial well-being better. So one thing is about using the products and services better. There's a component of that, because no person. I have a Samsung Z Flip phone. I'm definitely not using all the features in this phone. Somebody should be teaching me and reaching out to me to say, hey, here is ways to use this phone better. If the marketing does that, I will be closer to Samsung, right? Because you're helping me use the product better and have more satisfaction from it. So that's one part of it. The second part of care strategies is simply to stretch from there and say, if somebody is interested in our products and services, do we have content to figure out how to get them to do other things better that are not directly product related? So clearly having a Samsung flip phone, which costs a lot here in America. So I like cool things. I like the latest gadgets. Like these things say something about me. Can I build content related to that will drive longer term loyalty to the brand? And can you think about taking your current customer set and engaging with them in a way that converts them to be brand advocates? So those are two sides of the care strategies for me. One is directly connected to the product, deeper understanding, better usage of products, more value delivered, so on and so forth. So I just can use my phone better, which means I know that you've built a lot of cool things into this, right? So for example, this is my second flip phone, and I see Philip from Samsung. I still don't know how to take the selfies from the front better. It's so stupid. I still haven't figured that out. No, this is not my first one. It's my second one, right? And so Samsung could have done a better job of that. So product is one. But the second part is loyalty.
Actually, it's cheaper because you already have the customer.
Oh, God, it's so much cheaper, right? Why would I even think of Apple or Google? All my next phones will be Samsung. This is where you need the CMO. The people who are responsible for customers currently in most companies are the customer service department. The customer service department's job is to fix problems. By the time I call them, something is wrong. Something is very wrong because I don't want to call anybody. I hate calling customer service. But if the marketing team can say, our job is to make sure the product is being used and making lives better for our customers, and we to think about how to drive long-term loyalty and brand advocacy, now you have something magical, like truly magical. Why do you spend so much money talking about yourself? Why can't 30% of your customers, all your jobs should be, hey, 30% of our customers should be so loyal to us, they talk about us without us telling them. That is gold, Miguel. That's like platinum, not platinum. That's the way I think about care intent cluster and why I think it's so important for a CMO. Beyond the fact that it is good for the CMO at a personal level, it gets them engaged with product, gets them engaged with service, gets them engaged with better dimensions of different parts of the company, and actually professionally helps them grow from a CMO to a CEO. I really see a personal benefit, salary, compensation, stock. I see a personal selfish benefit there. But it's because you'll solve these big business problems, right? So it's a step away from it. Is that, wow, there's something amazing here. That's the discussion I would have with the CMO who you spoke with.
I have the right answer for this guy next time. Actually, I have the right answer. It's gonna be beneficial for him. I have two more questions.
Sure.
We already said content marketing measuring. I was reviewing this old interview with you, and we were talking about amplification, conversation, applause. We were talking about social media, but by that time, we still thought that Facebook was going to change the world, right? In 2015. How do we measure this? These content marketing strategies.
Normally, I can send you a link, and you can include it with the video. When we do content marketing, you have to say, what's the purpose? And you say we have C strategies, think, do, and care strategies. And then for each of those clusters, we will have the correct metric, right? So for example, you and I spoke about using email as a way to hit our quarterly goals at a lower cost per sale and higher conversion rate. We can do that. Great content marketing through email, driving short-term revenue, and we can measure. And we will measure revenue, we will measure profit, we will measure cost per sale, right? Exactly the normal metrics, we just do it for email. Just one example. Let's say we use TikTok and Facebook, and YouTube for our see and think strategies. Then we will use some of the metrics you just mentioned, but we will also use assisted conversions, because that helps you understand that, these content marketing strategies were not the last click conversion. Maybe that was on Google, maybe that was on TV or whatever. We use assisted conversion. So I'll send you a link to a slide that sort of lays out metrics under each cluster. But basically, I would boil it down to sort of three things, right? The first one is you have to think about the cost per sale. You can lower cost per sale over a long period of time if you have effective content marketing strategies. The second thing that we will think about is that we will be able to drive metrics like economic value. Don't just focus on short-term revenue, focus on economic value we create. And the third one is brand advocacy. I would put those three metrics, just sort of the highest umbrella ones. And then, of course, I'll send you the link. It'll show more detailed metrics by see, think, do, and care. Under each, I have four, with the first being the easiest, the last being the hardest. So you can pick from that menu, depending on how sophisticated you are. So you can say, we have think content strategies. Great. Here are the 4 metrics Avinash recommends. Here's the easiest one. Let's get started with that. That will mature to take the next one, things like that. So I'll send that. But the overall umbrella that I would put them under are those 3. Focus on those 3 as the overall umbrella. And it will be very hard for a CMO to not see what you're trying to solve for. And for the CFO at the same time to see, you're talking my language. You're talking my language, right? That's the winning formula.
There's a new audience that we need to consider, a CFO, of course. Of course. Last question, Avinash. Where's this going? Now you see IA like this chat GPT that's able, to write, to replace journalists and content creators. Well, supposed to. I'm not that convinced about it. But where is content marketing going? Where do you see this discipline in the next, 2, 3, 4, 5 years?
So, look, I think that if you look over the next 5 years, I think that what will not change is the ability of a company to think about the purpose of its marketing across those clusters. Like ChatGPT is great. I've been using it for a while. In fact, I replied to the first email that you sent to me using an algorithm, because I have integrated with Gmail, and when I get an email like yours, I say I hit one of 3 buttons. I hit say yes, and it automatically created the reply for you. I only had to add the meet link. So there are tasks that are becoming faster, easier for all of us, and that will happen with content. But what is not changing is our ability to figure out what should be our overall strategy. What is the audience we're trying to talk to? What is our value proposition in those cases? All that I think will remain. So for example, it is easy for you to add ChatGPT to your email marketing program right now. It's going to send out stupid things if you have thought of nothing. You still have to think, right? For now, for the next 5 years. What I'm excited about with machine learning is that it allows us a new way to think about how to get down from talking to like thousands of people to maybe talking to hundreds of people. So right now, it's very hard for companies to go and create content for everybody. That's just a dead. No, one-on-one doesn't exist. So what they do is they talk to thousands of people, usually hundreds of thousands of people. So you can say, I get that thousands of people that you're really relevant. Well, I think what ChatGPT and machine learning will do is allow us to say, we will feed the core concepts to you. And now you can actually talk to hundreds of people on our behalf and make that relevant. So I'm excited about that possibility and automation of that possibility. But ChatGPT for now, or machine learning algorithms from different companies are not going to do that. The other thing, I want to give you a very specific example. One way in which we will do content marketing is that creative is a very big part of content marketing, right? And so at the moment, it takes a long time for you to build creative, whether it's for a TV ad that is geared towards C intent cluster, or it's TikTok something for Think, or things like it's actually great. Like, we have to figure out how to get the right image, we have to get the right video, and then we have to come up with 5 ideas that take like somebody 10 days to make, and then we're like, I don't like 3 of them, and pick one thing. This is actually currently creative is time consuming. And what I'm most excited about machine learning algorithms at the moment is the ability to speed up that process. Because now I can go into Midjourney, I can go into to all these new options that are available on the web and say, oh, you know what? I want an image of Brazil. Instead of covered by trees, I want Amazon to be covered with telephone poles. And I want a boat. The boat is made of wood and it has 3 puppies on it. Now, the thing is, if I tell somebody to create that, because that's the creative I want to put on TikTok, it would take me like a bunch of days, right? And money. But you can actually go to Midjourney, type exactly what I just said, and it will pop open for you within seconds, like a whole bunch of options for this. So something that was going to take me a week to do is now done in like an hour and a half. Think of that as the more near term, or even Miguel. Let's say we have 5 ideas for creative we wanted to come up with. You can come up with 10. And then you can choose from what the machine learning algorithm offers, something that really connects with you. You're the choice. It just speeds up your creativity and imagination. That's how I'm seeing the application of machine learning and all these things happening in context of content marketing. Think about creative, think about personalization, think about segmentation. Those things it will make faster. And I'm really, really excited about that. Why do I need to spend 2 months making a TV ad? I should make it in a week. And by the way, why should I only try 3 ideas? I should try 40 ideas. You can do that cheaper, faster. That's exciting.
You're really, really kind. I really appreciate all your time. It's been, as always, really fulfilling to talk to you. Hope to see you back in Peru pretty soon. The book should be out of the print around May or June. I'm going to have a website with these interviews, and we're going to be selling the book online. But I'll be more than glad to send you a copy, because you're always so kind to us. Thank you so much, Avinash.
You're very kind, Miguel. Thank you, and all the very best.
Thank you so much.